There's a kind of emptiness that doesn't scream. It doesn't collapse you to the floor or ruin your day. It doesn't make itself obvious in meetings or at parties. It waits quietly. It shows up when you stop moving, when the dopamine fades and the screen goes dark, when the goals are met and you still don't feel full. It's not sadness exactly. It's something more hollow, like you forgot something but can't remember what. And maybe you've done the work. Maybe you've journaled, meditated, gone to therapy, read every book you could find. Maybe you said all the affirmations and kept all the habits. But still, when the room is silent, it returns. A phantom feeling you can't name. A sense that you're somehow not fully here. You're not broken, but something has been left behind. You were never taught to be whole. You were taught to be liked. From the first time someone said good boy or good girl, you learned to split, to shrink what was wild and polish what was praised. You learned to make yourself acceptable, and slowly, without knowing, you became the mask. You built an identity out of applause, out of safety, out of survival, and it worked. You became successful, you got approval. You played the part so well, people forgot it was a costume. But something in you didn't. The self that stayed behind never stopped watching, never stopped waiting. In each of us, Jung said, there is another whom we do not know, and that other is where your emptiness lives. The parts you silenced didn't die. They became shadow living in the background, shaping your life in secret. Every time you felt a sudden rage, a deep shame, an irrational fear, that was your shadow speaking. Not to punish you, but to be seen. The shadow isn't evil, it's unloved. It's the artist you dismissed, the anger you suppressed, the desires you denied, the dreams you postponed, all the truths you swallowed to stay safe. You didn't lose yourself, you hid. And the longer you hide, the louder the emptiness becomes. Because the ache you carry isn't from failure, it's from not living the life that wants to live through you. Darkness isn't wrong, it's a room with no candles, and you're the one holding them. What you're looking for isn't more success, it's wholeness. You don't need to fix yourself, you need to remember yourself. This is the path Jung called individuation, the slow, sacred process of reclaiming all you are. It means facing your shadow without shame, owning your contradictions, letting go of who you think you should be to become who you already are. And it's terrifying, because it means you have to meet the parts of you you've been avoiding. But on the other side of that meeting, peace. Not the fleeting piece of control, the enduring piece of integration. You stop performing, you start becoming. You stop escaping, you start inhabiting. And slowly, the silence inside you becomes a sanctuary, not a wound. The mask falls away, and what's underneath isn't shame, it's the self you lost. So why do you still feel empty? Because you're not empty, you're full. Full of the self you abandoned. The silence isn't a void, it's a doorway. The ache isn't failure, it's invitation. And the more you listen, the more it speaks. Not in commands, not in ideas, but in feeling, in resonance, in the quiet clarity that comes when you finally stop running from yourself. This isn't about fixing your life. This is about returning to it. And maybe, for the first time, living in it fully. You spent a lifetime perfecting the performance. Now you're learning how to drop the act. And it doesn't happen with fanfare. It happens when you start saying no. No to the roles that don't fit. No to the pace that drains you. No to the idea that your worth is earned through effort. It's a quiet revolt. You begin by pausing, by letting yourself be still, even when it feels like you should be doing something. You begin by noticing the way your breath shortens when you say yes to please, the way your stomach tenses when you lie to keep the peace. And then you begin to trust. Not some big dramatic trust, just enough to believe. I'm allowed to be whole, even here, even now. You begin by choosing the inner signal over the outer noise. Not always, not perfectly, but more than before. One truth at a time. The first lie you release is the one that says, I have to earn love. You don't. Love isn't a transaction, it's a recognition. You stop selling yourself connection and start witnessing yourself in silence. The most radical act of healing, letting the false self rest. A new kind of strength, the courage to be soft again in a world of masks. The world asks for more. You offer it your stillness, and the mask slips off. What once haunted you becomes your compass. The rage you buried reveals your boundaries. The envy you hid points to your deepest desires. The shame you carried showed you what needs tenderness. Your shadow was never your enemy. It was your unlived life, waiting. And now, it's time to listen. Not to the loud fear, but to the quiet ache beneath it. You begin to see. Every trigger is an invitation. Every loop is a lesson. Every time you numb out, you're really reaching in. Not for escape, but for return. You're not trying to be perfect anymore. You're trying to be real. And in that shift, there's freedom. Because healing doesn't mean becoming someone new. It means letting go of who you never were. The shadow you fled is not a monster. It's you, asking to be held. Eventually you realize you were never chasing happiness. You were chasing home. Not the one with walls, the one inside. The place where you stop defending yourself, where you breathe without bracing, where nothing has to happen for you to feel whole. This is the return, not to an old self, to a deeper one. You don't have to abandon your goals, just stop believing they'll save you. You don't have to quit the world, just stop mistaking it for your worth. Here in this quiet, you meet the self who was never missing, and the emptiness becomes spaciousness. The silence becomes communion. You begin to live, not as a project, but as a presence. The breath you hold becomes an offering. The ache you feared becomes a compass. The stillness you avoided becomes your sanctuary. There's no final line, no great revelation, just a remembering that you were never broken, just buried, that you were never lost, just unseen, that the silence inside you was never empty, it was sacred, and now you're listening, and what you hear is you, a voice steady and kind, a truth ancient and yours, a life not waiting to be built but lived. And slowly the ache becomes awe, and you realize the self you've been searching for was the one that's been watching you all along.